Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Simone Morris, and I have a passion for empowering others to take responsibility for their careers. Yes, I've written several books on owning your career and am loving hosting this podcast. This podcast is for you if you're willing to make a shift to the driver's seat in your career. We feature leaders who inspire, empower, and motivate you for consistent career action for results. Please continue to join us every Sunday when a new episode is released. Let's get into this week's show. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I'm so pleased to have with us today Sylvie di Giusto, who is a keynote speaker and looking fabulous as well. Welcome to the show, Sylvie.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm so excited to be with you. It's such a great email that popped up in my mailbox and I saw it from you, and I'm so glad I'm here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Sylvie, I think I met you many years ago. I went to a NSA brand lab in Arizona, and I feel like that's when I first crossed paths with you and was very impressed by the session that you shared. I think it was about branding.
Thank you very much. That is good to hear. Yeah, we both have a lot of common friends, a common network, since we both are successful speakers. And so I always love being with my NSA gang and also sharing some of my insights and learning from amazing people just like you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit more about your background and just your journey. You know, this show is about being in the driver's seat. And I know for a fact, Sylvie, you are in the driver's seat. So tell us, how did you navigate your way to the driver's seat in your career?
Oh, thank you very much. I have not always been in the driver's seat, just to give that away right away. But well, my journey obviously started long before the branding lab that you and I met. In fact, it started around 25 years ago when first I became a teacher, but quickly realized after 1-2 years that I'm becoming the teacher that I never wanted to have, who just teaches everything the same every single year. And I was just missing, the adventure of doing new stuff. But as a teacher, you rarely can really explore new stuff because you have your program every single year. And so I ventured out into human resources and training development. And a lot of my, I always say your future needs your past. And what I do now is very related to what I have done in my past. I spent 20 years in human resources and was always involved when there was training and development initiatives, e-learning initiatives, or somebody got hired or fired and everything in between. And for a very, very long time, I didn't realize that one of my greatest gifts and talents was actually in my own way. And that is, I truly enjoy putting the spotlight on others. I also think that is what really brought me into human resources, right? And into training and development and leadership development, identifying other people who have great skills, great experience, competencies, expertise that we needed in those organizations at that time. But I always turned the spotlight around on them. And I was sitting there and doing a great job delivering some of the greatest leaders to my organization, not realizing that none of the spotlight is on me. And so one promotion after the other in human resources went by. And I think one of the mistakes looking back, or one of the lessons that I had to learn, is how important it is for you, especially in a corporate career, to stand out. And to stand out for all the right reasons, not the wrong ones, obviously. And to give people the opportunity, what you have to offer, other than working hard. Working hard is not enough anymore, right? Going home and being exhausted from all the things that you have done will in the long term not bring you to that career change that you are hoping for. And so I had to step out of that environment, what I call a busy bee environment. You have the and the reputation that whatever they put on your plate, you're going to take care of it, right? Because they trust that you work hard into more of a strategic career view, realizing I need to make sure that I'm known for something else than working hard.
Very well said. I'm familiar with that busy bee, long to-do list, get it done, get your results. And actually, culturally, I have been trained to just do your job. And so there's quite a bit of unlearning that has to occur so that you realize that the job alone and working hard is not going to move you up the ladder. I think that's something key that you have said. Is that what you learned as well growing up?
Yes. So the only way I got promoted was always when my boss got promoted. And he took me with him from one career move to another career move because he knew he can count on me. And I just always missed that somebody looks at me and says, we want to have you because of your specific talents, your unique values that you bring to the table, your expertise, your skills, your competencies, the problems that you solve. But that never happened because I always moved up with my boss. And I was so fortunate to have him. I still consider him one of the best mentors and bosses I've ever had. But I had to step out very abruptly out of his shadow to make my own career path.
Well, what was the aha moment? What was that pivotal moment for you, Sylvie?
Oh, it's gonna get very personal now. Okay,
that's okay. I'm ready. I'm ready. Our listeners, I'm ready.
It has to stay here on the internet. November 20th at 8:20 a.m. in the morning, I gave birth to my daughter in a hospital. And my husband walked into the room, who spent the night before in a different town, and it was all hectic, because I went into labor. He wasn't around. He had to jump in a car. He came. He was nearly late. He entered the room, and the first thing he says is, I have a job offer in America.
Wow.
Now you need to know my childhood dream since I'm little, since I remember and my family remembers, was always to move to the United States. So I looked at my newborn baby, looked at him and said, let's go. And he was kind of, no, wait, they know that we just had a baby. They're going to fly me back, forth and back every week or every other. And you come and you settled in 6 months or so. And I said, no, you don't understand. I'm waiting for that opportunity my entire life. So from that hospital bed, I called my boss, said boss, and said, thank you very much, I got a baby. And by the way, I'm going to quit and move to America. And so he pretended to be understanding. He thought it's just the hormones, which luckily they were there, because 9 days later, I was sitting on a plane, leaving everything behind, everything, and entering and starting my new life and career in the United States.
That is amazing.
I would love to tell you that it was a long strategic plan that I worked out, but it wasn't. It was a micro moment where I thought, risk-taking is important. Probably I didn't think that. Now looking back, I pretend that I thought that, but where I just was in the moment and thought, this is my one time in a life chance to move to the United States. I'm going to do it now or never.
That's amazing. What in you allowed you to say yes? Because sometimes we get career opportunities, and this one, your husband got the opportunity, but you came with him. So, what do you have to develop to be able to say yes to career opportunities, like amazing opportunities like this one?
Mm-hmm. I think you have to develop to say no more often in order to say yes to the right ones. I have done a lot of jobs, and even in the beginning of my speaking career, and I'm sure you know that as an experienced speaker, at the beginning, of our careers, we often say yes to audiences we actually shouldn't talk to. We are not the right person, right? In the beginning of my speaking career, people called me and said, do you want to speak about body language? Sure. Do you want to speak about executive presence? Sure. Can you do a training? Sure. Can you do a workshop? Sure. Can you do whatever? As long as you give me a check, I'm going to do it. And I had to realize the more often I say no to these opportunities, the higher the chances that the right opportunities show up so I can say yes.
So I'm segueing because I've written down a couple of titles that could be your book title for your career body of work. One was Stand Out, Future Meets Past. And now we're saying say yes, say no, so you can say yes. So let me ask you the question, with your career body of work, your experiences, lessons, if you had to name a book on your career body of work, what would it be?
A never-ending adventure out of my comfort zone.
Get out of your comfort zone.
The comfort zone is a very dangerous place.
Please elaborate.
The comfort zone, if we navigate within our comfort zone, we don't grow, we stagnate, we don't take risks, we stay wherever we are, and we watch anxiously people around us moving forward while we don't.
So talk to us about, you come to the United States. You know, I know as a new mother, it is a completely new experience. You're in a new country. You've got these new experiences. How do you parlay that to, you know, you're on top of your game right now. You know, what did it take to make those moves?
Stepping out of my comfort zone, what I just mentioned, right? And I think now as an entrepreneur and business owner, more importantly than ever, you need to be willing to take risks. You need to be willing to do things differently than others. And when I look back on the past years, you and I are very, very blessed with a network of speakers around you who meet once or twice a year, and we come together and we share all our experiences. And I treasure those. So don't get me wrong. But when I look at my own career path, I was always successful when I did something different than all the others. Because if you do the same things like others, you quickly get into a comparison trap, and you will always lose that because the others already have done it. So they're always going to be one step ahead of you, at least. And so the major breakthroughs in my career, I only had when I did something completely different that nobody else had. When I took the risk, not knowing if it's going to work out, because not 10 other speaker colleagues told me this already worked for me.
Love that. Hone in on your differentiator and embrace the risk. It sounds like we're talking about the formula for owning your career. We're going to take a short break, come back and ask Sylvie to further hone in on what is her formula for owning her career. Be right back. Hi there. I hope you're enjoying this episode. This interview is amazing. I do so love it. I want to just jump in and let you know a couple ways that you can work with me. First of all, you can always go to connectwithsimone.com and it will give you the opportunity to get to my books, website, etc. If you want to sit down and have a conversation about your career directly, you can go to careerbreakthroughcall.com and book a free 30-minute call with me to talk about, you know, what's happening in your career. Do you need help with building your confidence? Do you need help with identifying strategic relationships that you need for career success? Do you need help building a career plan? whatever it is, I'm sure that I can help. So do go to careerbreakthroughcall.com and set up a time for us to have a conversation. Again, it's a free 30-minute call to have a conversation. That's it for now. Let's get back to the interview. Welcome back, Sylvie. We were talking before, well, actually, you had some valiant points about risk and about really being different, being unique. And so it sounded to me like those were key ingredients for successfully owning your career. So I want to segue to that. Based on what you have learned over the years in your career, what would you say is your formula for successfully owning your career?
I think what is most important and absolutely crucial is to know your unique selling points. And we very often talk about USP, unique selling points, when it comes to products or services. And even as a business owner, we are used to work on those when we try to sell a keynote, a speech, an online learning program. But we rarely do it for ourselves. We just position ourselves as one of many, as an accountant in an organization. But accounting is a huge field, and there are honestly possibly millions of accountants out there who do exactly the same like you. So what you do doesn't make you really unique. What makes you unique is how you do it. And so I encourage everybody to answer that question. What is it about me that is unique that the other accountant doesn't have? This could be your individual values and beliefs. We all have a core set of values that we bring to the work table. This could be your natural talents. We never think about the talents we actually are born with and how we use them nowadays in our workplace. This could be your skills and your experience, your hard skills, your soft skills, your competencies. This could be your past experiences and the lessons learned. This could be the accomplishments you had in your past career, the number of sales you made, the awards that you got. This could be the specific problems that only you can solve, where only you have a solution. This could be what differentiates you from your competition. So this could even be a fun fact about you, right? So for example, I have this very uncommon hobby that I climb stairs in buildings, in the highest buildings in the world. Fun fact about me. Tell me more. Why do you run up dirty and stinky stairwells? Who would do that? And I said, well, because of my competitive mindset. And then I integrate that competitive mindset into my work, into my marketing. So everything connects to everything, and everything is unique to you. You just have to have the willingness and confidence to share it with others and to imprint in their subconscious mind that you are the right person for this job, that you are the right person to get promoted, that you are the right person to buy from, or that you are the right person to buy in. Very often it's a lack of confidence to show your unique selling points proudly and loudly, and we just assume that the others see them. But a good example is our natural talents. Our natural talents is something we are born with. And since we are born with, they seem so easy to us because they come so naturally, as the name says, as the term says, right? But for others, they don't come naturally. So they look at us and think, wow, she is so good in this or that, not realizing it's one of our talents. So if we don't tell them, neither we nor they realize how special they are. So work on your unique selling points. Know them in and out.
For me, what's coming up, Sylvie, is that there is almost a scavenger hunt where you go back through your career and look for those unique identifiers that you can package together, whether it's resume, whether it's LinkedIn, or whether it's conversations as an entrepreneur to, whether it's a capability statement to share, package that in a way that you can share with others. Are there resources that you can share with our audience that, you talked about confidence, you talked about this USP, unique selling point. There are resources and even around your career that you can share with the audience.
I am so glad that you asked, because it happens that very soon, I'm not sure when you're listening to this podcast episode, but at least when we record it very soon, a book will be published, happens to have my name on it. Imagine that. Called Fair Advantage, Discover Your Fair Advantage. And it will help you to work through 16 unique selling points that every professional or business owner has. I help you exactly what I just said, to identify your values and your beliefs, to look back into your career, like you mentioned, and pick out what is relevant, and to craft a unique selling proposition. But on top of that, it also shows you how then you can implement that in your personal brand. And not personal branding as we often hear it on the internet, your logos, your website, your design, very much focused on a professional in an organization. How can I implement that in my very own appearance, in my behavior, in my communication, and in my digital footprint? And then on top of that, as the third part, is this really how people perceive me? Is that what people see in me? Well, because we are all facing a lot of unconscious bias and filters out there. And no matter what we craft and plan, chances are very high that we are misunderstood, because that's just how human errors work. And therefore, I give you a second source, if you don't mind, which is a free perception audit, a questionnaire that you can take on my website. It's a 10-minute assessment where I will reveal to you how people actually perceive you, what they think about you when they think about you, and it's for free. And I'm going to tell you the link, but I hope that you will add it somewhere in your show notes.
I will.
It's sylviedigiusto.com, my very simple first and last name, as you can imagine, sylviedigiusto.com/audit.
That sounds very exciting. So we will be sure to add that to the show notes as well. And sounds very exciting that there'll be lots of data nuggets to deal with or to digest.
Yes. German work ethics.
Nice.
The details. I'm Austrian by birth, French in my heart, Italian in my kitchen, German in my work ethic, and American by choice.
Very diverse melting pot, mixing pot there, Sylvie. Love that.
The accents that your audience members and listeners have to handle right now at the moment.
Nice. Just a question for you, Sylvie. You also mentioned that natural aptitude. Now, for me, I know there's a company called, listeners, Johnson O'Connor Research Foundation, that actually tests your natural aptitude. If you're wondering about, how do I figure out what I'm naturally good at? Is there anything that you can highlight specifically, how to hone in on those natural talents?
Yeah. First of all, I want you to add that link to the show notes so that I can click on it too.
Yes.
Test it is very interesting for myself personally, but also my work. And secondly, how I help people to have a first hint or get a first hint about their natural talents is, I want you to walk back into your childhood. Think about things you have been always good at during your childhood. There is something that came so naturally to you that you didn't have to take classes or trainings, maybe later on to improve it, but it seems like you were just born with that talent, right? In my case, I remember myself hours painting and drawing beautifully art pieces. I was always drawn to aesthetics, nice things, beautiful things. You should have seen my Barbie and my Ken. I love interior design. I love dressing myself. I love dressing other people. At one point in my career, I designed my websites, my marketing materials, everything myself, because I have an eye for aesthetics. And that is something I can go back and I find proof for that, even in my childhood. And I have never taken a design class or something like that. And so I also want you to go back many, 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 many years and see, is there something that pops up again and again? Also things where you get regularly complimented on and you wonder, as I said, why do they compliment me? Because it's so easy. Isn't that something everybody can do? But no, not everybody can do, because only you are born with that unique set of talents.
Love that. Love that. So many valuable gems that you have shared on this episode. You mentioned something in the beginning that I'm going to briefly go back to. You said, I was not always in the driver's seat. So it seems like you were always in the driver's seat. So tell us a little bit about that as we begin to wrap the interview.
When I'm not in the driver's seat? Well, you know, as a mom of 2 children, you just believe that you are in the driver's seat. But if you have an honest moment to yourself, you know exactly who is driving that bus and that Uber and that everything. So my life is always looking as if it's in the driver's seat, as long as I have my children, my husband, myself somehow under control. And we all know how quickly that can change from one second to the other.
Yes, absolutely. I'm smiling because I can certainly relate. I have a 6-year-old daughter and I wonder often, how does this happen? So I can only imagine. Well, Sylvie, thank you so much for being a guest on the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. Again, please remind our listeners how they can stay connected with you.
Please get on my website or simply Google my name, Sylvie di Giusto, or Google something around first impressions, a speaker, executive presence. If I don't show up, then you don't have internet.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for being a guest on the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this week's empowering career story on the podcast. If you did, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Wherever you listen to the podcast, be sure that you are subscribing and that you rate and review the podcast. It's so important as we continue to spread the word of career empowerment. In addition, you can head over to the LinkedIn platform and join the Power of Owning Your Career discussion group. There you can have access to the guests who have been on the podcast, as well as others listening to the podcast, as well as myself, where we can continue the conversation. I hope to see you on that platform. You can also email me at pooyc@simonemorris.com if you have a suggestion for guest or a message that you want me to hear personally. Thanks so much, and make it an inspiring, empowering week in your career.